the rich one and the poor one. In the last century, two brothers lived in the world. The youngest one had no children, conducted a large trade and lived richly. The elder one lived in poverty. The only happiness for him were his two sons, Khasen and Khusain. In the summer, as soon as the berries began to ripen, the mother would take them to the rialto and sell them. The whole family lived on this. Once at noon, when everything in nature calms down, when the shadow becomes the shortest, when it is difficult to see whether the water is flowing or standing in the river because of the bright shine, Hassan and Hussein made their way along the coast through the bush. Suddenly a bluebird of unseen beauty flew out of the grass in front of them. The guys didn't have time now to admire. Suddenly it rose high and disappeared into the sky. Hassan and Hussein decided to look for her nest and quickly found it. In the nest laid eggs, white with blue veins. The children were hungry and delighted with their find. But the eggs were so small that Hassan and Hussein decided, if we eat them, it will be of little use. We'd better take them to a rich guy. Without going home, they went straight to their rich man and asked him if he would buy bluebird eggs white with blue veins. Where did you get them? Asked the rich man. In the field, in the grass, replied the boys. The man took the eggs and to the surprise of Hassan and Hussein gave them 100 tenge and said, if you catch the bird itself, I'll give you another 200 tenge. Why the rich man needed the bluebird, Hassan and Hussein did not know, but without hesitation they took the snare and went to the place where they saw the bird. They quickly found a nest, set up a trap, and hid themselves in the bushes. Soon a bluebird flew in, looked around, fluttered, sat in a nest, and got caught. No matter how sorry the guys were for the wonderful beauty bluebird, they nevertheless took it to their rich man, usually Steenie, but this time he kept his word. Apparently this bird was dear to him. The man gave Hassan and Hussein another 200 tenge, sugar and clothes. The guys brought everything home. Their parents were very happy, but the happiness in the poor family did not last long. The rich man brought the bluebird home, slaughtered it, and gave it to his wife. I'll come in the evening, he said, and you cook dinner out of it by my arrival. Look, don't give a single piece of this bird to anyone. The wife thought, well, what is it? But she didn't argue with her husband. She cleaned the bird, cut it, threw it into a cauldron, poured it with water and put it on fire, and she went to her neighbor and stayed there talking. Hassan and Hussein, burning with curiosity, decided to find out what had become the bird. Entering their uncle's room, they saw that no one was there and that thick steam was rising from the cauldron. "Isn't this our bird blowing?" Hassan asked in surprise. "Is she really?" Hussein was no less surprised. They approached the cauldron, opened the greasy lid, and made sure that the same bird they had caught was boiling. "Can't we try the bird that we caught ourselves?" Hassan asked. "Of course, we'll try a piece," Hussein answered. They fished out the bird's heart with a spoon, divided it in half, ate it, and left. The hostess came, decided to check if everything was in order with dinner. She took a spoon, fished out all the meat, and turned pale. Her heart disappeared. "My husband will be angry at me. And why did I have to stay away for so long?" she scolded herself. But words won't help. She went out into the yard, caught a rooster, slaughtered him, took out his heart, threw it into a cauldron, and calmed down. In the evening the husband came. Lunch was very tasty. When they ate, the husband slyly winked at his wife and, smiling, said, "Well, wife, God sent us happiness. In the morning, when we woke up, we will have gold under our pillow." The wife said nothing in reply, lowered her eyes, and went to make the bed. The next morning they woke up, looked under the pillow. There was no gold. They look, they shook the whole bed. There still was no gold. But how great was the surprise of Hassan and Hussein when, waking up in the morning, they found a whole bag of gold next to their heads. No less guys were surprised and delighted parents. Hassan and Hussein's father, who had never seen so much gold, got scared and rushed to his brother to advise. "Oh, brother, tell me what happened. In the morning, at the herds of our guys, we found a bag of gold each. Is it bad or good?" The merchant Ace glittered with envy, but, knitting his brows and looking at the ground, he spoke loudly. "Bad business. It was the spirits who intervened. I once asked a Hazrat about this, and he by the grace of Allah, replied, the spirit spoiled such a person. He must be hanged immediately. Take them, drive them somewhere and kill them. Otherwise, where there will not be anything good for you from these children. The father returned home saddened, and he thought this way and that, and finally decided, no, I can't kill my children. I'll take them away to the steppe or the forest so that my eyes can see them and my ears can hear them. In the morning he asked a neighbor for a cart, put the children in it and said, today I will take you to where there are many, many berries. In the evening I will come for you and you must collect a bag of blackberries. They rode for a long time through the steppe and finally found themselves at the edge of a dense forest. Thick bushes intertwined between the three trunks, and the guys saw a lot of berries. Well, children, stay there, gather berries. The man could not say anything more, turned away and went crying to the horse. For a long time Khasen and Khusain gathered blackberries, then sat down to rest, waiting for their father. He was about to arrive, they thought. The father did not come. The children had to spend the night in the forest. In the morning they woke up, looked around, and again a bag of gold appeared under their heads. The guys did not touch him, left it at the place where they spent the night, went through the forest. Wherever their eyes looked, they met an old hunter on the way. "Hello, Nungle," the guys said in one voice. "Hello, children. Where are you from? And where are you going?" "We don't know from where, since the forest is large, but we go until the first meeting. For anyone who has no daughters, let us pass for daughters. Whoever has no sons, for sons. I have no children. Will you be my sons? Will you come to me?" "Of course," the boys said. The old man was with a horse. Having seated the guys on it, he said, "Go, the horse will bring you to my dwelling." The guys thanked the old man and did not remain in debt. "Grandfather," said Hassan and Hussein, "where we slept, there were 2 full bags of gold." Hassan and Hussein lived for a long time with an old hunter, got used to forest life, learned to shoot well, and became experienced and courageous hunters themselves. By this time the once poor old man was already the richest man in the neighborhood. When the guys grew up, gold stopped appearing under their pillows. One day they talked for a long time among themselves and remembered their whole past life. Do you know, Hussein, the old proverb? Hassan said. A dog, wherever it wanders, will always return to where it found a bone with meat, and it a person is always drawn and a person is always drawn to the places where he was born. Let's go, Hussein, look for our parents. The thoughts of my brother are my thoughts. Where you are, there I am, answered Hussein. Let's go. They went to the old man to inform him of their decision. The old hunter took pity on the young Jiggits and said, I can give you a drove of cattle as a gift, but I see that you do not need it. I wish you a happy journey and success in your search of parents. The old man gave Hassan and Hussein their two best horses, and saying goodbye, they set off. They drove for a whole month and finally saw that the road had split in two. Our paths diverge, Hassan said. You go to the right and I will go to the left path. So be it, Hussein replied. Wherever we are, we will meet here on the way back. At the split of the road they stuck a knife into the ground. Each of us will be alive or dead. This knife will show, they said. If one of us dies, the half of the handle facing his way must burn. Saying goodbye, Hassan and Hussein went in different directions. Let's let Hussein go. He has his own way. Now the story will be about Hassan. Hassan passed several corpses and drove out into the open steppe. A large city stretched out before him. The closer Hassan drove to the city, the more he was surprised. Black flags were visible everywhere. Large black fabrics enveloped the houses. Why is your city in mourning? Hassan asked the first old woman he met. It seems that you are not a resident of our city, the old woman answered. Well, if you want it, I'll tell you. A gluttonous seven-headed serpent has appeared. Every day we give him one girl and one ha. Today it was their turn to give to the snake the Khan's daughter. Khan announced everywhere, if someone kills the snake and saves Hanshaim, he will marry her to him. Only such a daredevil was not yet found in the city. So the Khan ordered black flags to be hung everywhere. Hassan went straight to the Khan. Khan was not at home, and next to the Khan's quarters, in one of the rooms, Hassan saw a tight ha and with him a girl of indescribable beauty. Her black braids shone like silk. Her burning gaze was equal to the dazzling ray of the sun. Seeing Hassan, Hanshaim shuddered. "Don't be afraid," Hassan reassured her. "If I save you from the snake, how will you thank me? If you hadn't freed me, I would have married you." Hassan squatted next to her, thought a little and said, "I have traveled a lot today, and am very tired. I'll lie down to rest, and when the snake appears, you should wake me up." Hassan was already deep asleep when suddenly something pounded, rattled, and the door opened wide. Hanshaim was numb with horror when they saw the head of snake on the threshold, but immediately came to her senses and began to wake Hassan. The exhausted Hassan slept soundly. He did not even wake up from the screams of the girl. The snake was getting closer. Hanshaim, having lost all hope of salvation, resigned herself to fate and, bending over Hassan, wept bitterly in anticipation of death. Hot, large tears of the girl fell on Hassan's face and burned the young jigget. Waking up, Hassan saw a snake. Pulling out an axe from his belt, Hassan waved it, and all the snakes' heads flew away at once. Hanshaim was delighted, and after removing the gold ring from her finger, she gave it to Hassan. Hassan left the palace, and that time the Khan's vizier accidentally looked in the door. Seeing that the girl was alive and the snake had been killed, the vizier was surprised, but instantly realized that an opportunity had turned up to rise in front of the Khan. Without showing himself to the girl, he hastened to leave and came to the Khan with unexpected good news. "I killed the snake with my own hands and saved Hanshaim," said the vizier. "Keep your promise, Khan. Let Hanshaim become my wife." "May it be so," Khan replied. He ordered to hang white flags throughout the city, to decorate all the houses with white fabrics, so that the entire population knew that the Khan had freed himself from the seven-headed serpent. They called all the mullahs to celebrate the wedding of their daughter with the vizier. At this time, Hassan appeared in the Khan's palace. Hearing how the vizier boastfully spoke about his victory over the serpent, Hassan pointing to the vizier and said, "He's a liar and coward. How can you prove the truth of your words? You didn't kill the snake, I did." Everyone turned to Hassan and began to look at him. "And how you prove it?" the vizier retorted arrogantly. "I have proof," Hassan said, pulling out a ring from his pocket and showing it to all those gathered. "He stole this ring from Hanshaim," shouted the enraged vizier. "If you killed a snake," Hassan said, "you can pick it up dead and throw it to another place." In vain did the vizier try to lift the serpent. He could not even move it. Then Hassan came up, easily picked up the snake and threw it through the window into the river. Then Hanshaim, who was called by the Khan to testify, pointed to Hassan. "This young Jigit freed me, and I gave him a ring," she said. Khan kicked away the vizier and, having given his daughter to Hassan, made him his close associate. Soon Hassan got bored of living at the Khan's court in luxurious chambers, and he often began hunting. One hot afternoon he was driving along the river coast. He was accompanied by a beautiful hunting dog. Suddenly the wind unexpectedly blew. The weather got colder and heavy snow began to fall. Hassan began to look around where to hide from the wind and snow and get warm, and saw a spruce nearby. Tall and slender, covered with soft snow, it resembled a large tent. Hassan hid a horse and a dog under it, broke branches, laid out a fire pit, and began to warm himself. Then he noticed an old woman on a tree among the branches. She was sitting and crying lamentably, as if a blizzard was howling. "Why are you crying?" Hassan asked. "Maybe cold? Get down, come to the fire, get warm." "I would get down, son," says the old woman, "but I am afraid of dog. Can you give me your wand?" Hassan handed her a wand, the miraculous power of which he did not know. The old woman waved it over the horse, over the dog, and over Hassan. All three turned into stones and remained under the spruce. Let Hassan remain in the forest turned to stone. Now the story will be about Hussein. After separation from his brother, he also soon became a Khan and lived in one big city. On the day when Khasen died, Hussein became sad and decided to go in search of his brother. Equipping his horse, Hussein got on and finally drove up to the place where their paths parted. The knife remained in its original place. Only the half that was turned towards the path of Hussein was intact, and the other half was burned. Hussein realized that Khasen had died. He cried and decided, "Not alive, so I'll go look for the dead." Having turned his horse to the road where his brother had left, Hussein soon found himself in the city where Khasen lived. He was received with honor there and taken to the palace. Here Hussein met a young woman and acknowledged that she was the wife of his missing brother. True cordial welcome and joyful mood of the vizier, who again returned to the court, aroused suspicion in Hussein. Something is wrong here, he thought. Could it be that my poor brother was the victim of this vizier? Hussein thought about this all night, and in the morning, having learned from Hanshaim that his brother had disappeared while hunting, he himself went along the river coast in search. Just like Khasen, Hussein was captured by a blizzard. The spruce which became the shelter and grave of his brother sheltered Hussein as well. Having made a fire pit, he also saw an old woman among the branches, and also took pity on her. "Get down, grandma, from the tree. Get warm," he said. "I would get down, son," says the old woman, "but I am afraid of dogs. Wait, I'll threaten her with a stick." Hussein looked at the old woman, and something seemed to stop him in the herd. He got up from the rock he had sat on and raised his gun. "Come on, get down, or I'll shoot," he said, aiming. The old woman, trembling, got down from the tree. "It seems to me that you know where my brother is. Speak, or I will kill you," he ordered. "The stone you were sitting on is your brother," the old woman replied. "The vizier ordered me to lure him in and kill him. Spare me. I will return your brother to you. Take the stick hidden in the branches of the spruce and wave it." Hussein did just that. In an instant, instead of the stone on which Hussein did just that. In an instant, instead of the stone on which he was sitting, Khasen turned out to be in front of him. It is impossible to describe how happy the brothers were after a long separation. Hussein stayed in Khasen's palace for a long time, and once said to him, "And now, Hassan, I will remind you of the proverb that you told me from the old hunter. A dog is looking for a place where it is well fed, and a man is where he was born. Don't you think it's time for us to go in search of our parents? Although you distorted the proverb, but I agree. If we think we could find them alive, we can't wait any longer. As decided, so they did. With the very first trade caravan, Khasen and Hussein set off on their journey, and finally, on a festive day, they entered the fire square of the city. Here they met their rich man, a wealthy merchant, who passed between the trading rows and met each new caravan. He did not recognize his nephews, and when they named themselves, he immediately began to flutter, fawn, and was ready to kiss their hands. Where are our father and mother? Hassan and Hussein asked together at the same time. Here in the city. But why do you need old people who have not seen the light for a long time? I see you are rich enough, said the rich man. With questions and inquiries, Hassan and Hussein found an old, dilapidated shack on the city outskirts. There were no windows in it. In the darkness it was not visible who was in it. Hassan and Hussein lit a fire and saw their blind old parents in front of them in dirty, worn out and shreds clothes. Father, mother, what happened to you? Hassan exclaimed. You don't see the light at all? Hussein asked. Mother began to cry when she heard native voices. The father waved his hands and spoke. Is there really such a person in the world who is looking for me? Have my sons, who have died long ago, come to visit me? Hassan and Hussein told everything in order, where they lived, what they saw, and how they finally got to their parents. Why did you leave us in the forest then? Did you really chase the gold? Hassan asked his father. Why didn't you come for us then? Because we had even more gold. Hussein also asked reproachfully. Do not be offended, my children. There was no other way out, the old man cried. Your guide told me that by the will of Allah I must kill you, because an evil spirit has taken possession of you. I couldn't do it. I acted like a father. Parting with you was hard for us, and you see how we live. Your rich man did not help us in anything. The heaviest punishment for us is that we cannot see you. The old man became silent. Hassan and Hussein left the shack for a while. They went to the fair, found their greedy man, and threw him into a deep well.